What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the More Than Philly Sports Network. It is great to be here with all of you today. It is Monday, 17th of May here in 2021, 12:02 p.m. here on the East Coast. And as always, joined alongside my co-host, Gaven Tony. We have a lot to go over today. We have all sports pretty much to go over, not too much in detail with some of them. Of course, the major story from the weekend, the 76ers the other night beating the Orlando Magic to clinch the 1 seed. That happened late last week. Last night, of course, their bench was able to take care of business as well to finish the season one game up over the Brooklyn Nets. They are the 1 seed and have arguably the easiest path to the Eastern Conference Finals. Before we get to all that, though, Gavin, first of all, how are you doing today?
Zach, I'm doing great. Look, it was a busy weekend for us. Going to prom Friday night, and I got to give a major shout out to Zach, your mom, Mrs. Starr. She pulled off a phenomenal prom when we didn't think we were going to get one, and the whole Vegas team, sir, I hit big on roulette and then blackjack. Shout out to your dad for giving me over $1,000 in winnings if it was real money. But it was tickets, so I won. And real quick, Zach, Saturday I got my first COVID shot, so that was good. So it was a busy weekend for me. How about you?
Yeah, same here. I mean, look, my mom worked really hard on it. Definitely still trying to just acknowledge and catch up on everything that's been going on. But no, it's been fun. It was a great weekend. Definitely something we didn't expect for sure a few months ago. But as things start getting better, one of the things, of course, you point out with your COVID shot, life is getting better. We have clear guidelines to return to normal. We hope that everybody does their part. We hope that everybody can live their lives and be free. And this is one major thing part of it. We're getting out of a really tough time in this world, this country, and a lot of bright things coming up in the future.
Zach, I will say that it was nice to get some sense of normalcy on Friday night. Just felt nice to seeing everybody for the first time in a while. And Zach, I will say this: I couldn't find you. You were ducking me on the blackjack and the poker table. I didn't know where you were. He pulled out I have a date card and ran off, and I couldn't find him after that. And it came to find out he was looking for me, but I was at the table all night, so I don't know who's telling the truth or who's lying here. But I know where I was, Zach. I don't know about you.
I tried to visit you a few times. We got a picture or two. We did all right. I think we did all right. Not too bad.
Yeah, we'll be getting our game in soon, and
we will be.
We'll be hitting the golf course again pretty soon, ladies and gentlemen. More on that in the coming weeks.
For sure, but no, a fun weekend indeed. We're back Monday here. Let's start with the team that I'm still high on, kind of. It's hard to be, but the Philadelphia Phillies continue to be a hot and cold team. They go on a stretch of winning 5 or 6 games. They drop 2 or 3. Everybody loses their minds. Aaron Nola had a very crappy outing this weekend. Yesterday's outing for the Phillies was really bad as well. Run support has not been there for the past 2 games. They took care of business against Toronto in the first one. They lost the next 2. Toronto has been a good team this year, though. But just to give you more perspective, what are we looking at with the Phillies? It is only May. There are 41 games into the season, about a quarter of the way there. They're a half game back of the Mets from first place, 1 game above 500. And just to look at the team they lost this weekend, the Blue Jays are 22-17, game and a half of the Red Sox back. And now the Phillies play against a Marlins team that currently sits at 18-22, 3 games back of first place. So 2 or 3 of these games they should win. They'll be back on track. There is some drama going on in the clubhouse, but that's why you have Joe Girardi. You trust him that he'll make the right decisions. He chose not to comment too much on the Gene Segura situation. Everything will be fine. I think that the Phillies will be all right. I'm still confident they'll make the playoffs, but again, the depth does scare me. But this team looks better than the rest of the division, and that's all that matters.
Well, first of all, who the hell is Gene Segura to ever talk to Joe Girardi like that? I like Joe Girardi not coming out publicly and saying what it was. He said it's dugout talk, which is in all truth, it is dugout talk. Zach, let me come out and say this. Yesterday, I thought the Phillies are going to win. Zach, they look like high hopes. Moton or Moton or however you say his last name, forgive me, came out, hit another home run again. Future looks bright for him. But Zach, let's go out to the drama, right? I didn't personally watch the confrontation because, Zach, every time I turn the Phillies, I get depressed because, Zach, if you look at any other baseball team, you look at the Yankees, you look at the Dodgers, even though they're struggling as of late, but you look at any other team as us, and you just watch how their runs are coming in, how good their pitching is. And you look at us, and you're like, well, why can't we ever just get one of those games where we don't have to sit there and look at the edge of our seats and buckle up for a wild ride at the end? Why can't we just cruise to a win? Well, I'm going to tell you why. This bullpen is garbage. The pitching rotation, depending on who it is, it's okay. Aaron Nola didn't have the best of the best yesterday. Zach Willard, he's hot and cold sometimes. When he's on. And the other guys are, just leave it like that.
Velasquez looked pretty good lately, actually, but he's not going to be consistent.
Yeah, but let's not give him any praise because a bad start's coming, and the start from hell is going to be here pretty soon. Haven't saw that. The run support is not here. Zach, that's the team that, if you look back at last year, they didn't blow as many games as they did last year. They would have been, number one, they would have been in the playoffs, way ahead of the Braves in the division, and arguably one of the top teams, just as the Dodgers. But as many times as the bullpen has blown games, that's why the record looked as bad as it is. So now, look at it this year. Zach, you win 6 or 5 straight, then you drop the next 2 or 3. You can't do that. You have to be somewhat consistent. Zach, the majority, that was the word in the summertime. Let's bring it up now. The majority has to prevail, especially in the month. Zach, I feel like last year they only played, a month and a half of baseball. This year you're playing a couple months. You're playing 160 games, 2 games less. Or 2 games less than you normally do. You have to win the majority of the month. Zach, if you're playing, let's say, 25 games, I at least expect 15 wins out of that or a little bit more than that. You have to do the majority. And Zach, I'm afraid to see what July is going to be because in July, normally it's just baseball. I know we're going to get the NBA Finals during July, Zach, which is hopefully our hometown team is in it. But if this baseball season is going to be over by July, which, Zach, it looks like it's going to be if you're the Phillies, but luckily the division is terrible. It might not be. Who knows what it's going to look like for the Phillies? Who knows what the record's going to be? But, Zach, this whole hot and cold stuff, I understand that's early in the year. I mean, like the April and early May. But we're getting close to June now. Zach, our time's running out as seniors. I mean, at some point, we got to find this true identity of this baseball team, and they don't have it yet.
No, I agree with you on the last part. Again, this is a team that is still a game above 500. There's no reason to hit the panic button yet. It's a long season. Nobody else in the division has found their legs. The Mets have kind of a little bit found their identity, but we all know how the Mets work. Everyone's mad with the Phillies right now because they anticipate a midseason collapse. Let's pump the brakes, relax, take it game by game. Very disappointing weekend for the Phillies. I get your frustration, but still a game above 500 and only a half game back in the division.
I mean, Zach, it was Friday night when me and you we were sitting there, talking and walking around in our nice little suits, and we were talking about how the Sixers are clinching, the first in the East, and then we remember that the Phillies just lost today. Like that's the happy. Like you get excited about one team, and then the other team's a disappointment. We had Adam Waxman here, who, Zach, let's be honest, he looked pretty shocked that I won the Flyers gift. The Flyers aren't even in the playoffs. There's only one team to look forward to. It's the Sixers. The Phillies are hot and cold, and let's be honest, Zach, if you go to the Phillies game, it's one, you either really enjoy baseball or you don't care about how bad the Phillies are doing. You just go just to go. But there's nothing really to be excited about the Phillies. There really isn't. I mean, Zach, we're about to be at full capacity at outdoor stadiums in the city of Philadelphia, right? We wouldn't know that because the Phillies aren't going to sell out. They're not. I mean, who wants to go watch that? All 40,000 people want to go watch that. I mean, it's
above 500. I mean, I don't know where you're coming from with the negativity. They're above 500. What's the issue?
The issue is when you have
losses, like where are you when they're winning 5 games in a row? The Phillies are fine. They're going to be fine for now.
As Dom said, people may go just trying to say is this.
They'll sell out the first few games. I don't know after that. Like the July slump, we call it. We don't know if that is that going to happen this year. What if they get hot in July?
It's happening now. They don't have an identity. They've
been injured. Their defense has been terrible, and the pitching has been so. The hitting's been inconsistent, but they're still getting above 500. So I think that says a lot about this team. If they can find their groove,
one game.
If they can relax with the drama, I think there's a slim chance that they can pull out of this. My stance that they are going to make the playoffs via the wild card still does stand. I do confidently believe that.
Do you think Gene Segura will be a trade, a movable piece if drama continues?
I think Nick Maton will be able to take that spot. I think Segura will be on the move.
You could get something nice with Segura. You never know.
Could get a piece in the bullpen or a AAA guy, something like that. I don't know. We'll see what his worth is, but yes, he is definitely one of the guys I can see being on the move pretty soon.
I hope so. Because, I mean, Zach, let's be honest. If Gene Segura was a star, I would understand the frustration. But Zach, it hasn't been really much special. It's kind of, I'm going to say, almost underperforming at some points in time. He has a couple of big moments, but Zach, if we were to let him go, I wouldn't be too upset.
I think Hammond, you need some help in the outfield. McCutchen is not going to be on the move, but I think you definitely find someone to replace him as a daily starter. But he's been hitting the ball well lately. I do have to give him some credit. The past week or two, he's been doing really well. But with that being said, before we do get to our big talk of the day, let's talk about some of the big news out of Philadelphia, the NovaCare complex this morning. Philadelphia Eagles signed Ryan Kerrigan, the veteran defensive end who was on the Washington football team for the past few years. A veteran presence to pair with Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, Vinny Curry, I believe, is still here. I don't even know. I haven't paid attention to that roster all too much. But Gaven, a very pretty good draft for the Eagles. And now some good free agents. Anthony Harris came. You had a linebacker from the Vikings. Howie Roseman has done a very poor job in the past few years. But ever since the Carson Wentz trade, he's been doing a pretty damn good job. He is putting Jalen Hurts in a position where he has to play as well as the team can potentially be. And I like that for him. I like that we're giving Jalen Hurts a solid chance. People see the Eagles as a tanking team this year. I don't. I don't see them as a good team. I see them as a 500 or so team. Gavin, what do you think?
Well, it's the NFC East, so Zach, they always have a chance to win it. I mean, damn, the Dallas Cowboys have an easy front half of the schedule where every team from past last year was under 500. Who knows what that would shape up this year? But Zach, I wouldn't consider the Eagles a tanking team. I would consider them as, like you said, a 500 team or a team that they get hot, they get hot. But it is the NFC East. Any team can win at one point. I mean, damn, the Washington football team, the team without a name, went to the playoffs off their defense, and their offense wasn't too much special. I mean, they were playing Russian roulette with the quarterback. You didn't know who was going to be there. But when it comes to our hometown Eagles, I mean, are we really criticizing? I mean, yeah, okay, he had one good draft. But let's not forget Justin Jefferson. Let's not forget DK Metcalf. Let's not forget those guys. And the reason why I bring those up because they were the obvious choices at their respective times. They should have been picked. And lastly, Zach, I still don't care. I mean, how many coaches do you get to survive until you look at the general manager and say, it's your fault, you have to go as well? The real problem sits at the front office, and it's not changing yet. The only thing I'm really excited about, Zach, this year is what Jalen Hurts is going to do, what Nick Sirianni, a.k.a. Zach Starter in disguise, is going to do, and what Devontae Smith is going to bring to the table. He will make a big impact. Mark my words. That might be Rookie of the Year right there. But, Zach, the problem's still here. It really is.
Yeah, the top level it might be, but on the field it looks like they're building some good culture, some good players. I'm looking forward to seeing what can happen. Salary cap situation's but they got it under control for this year. We'll see what happens if they can make it run and go on a playoff run for next season, or if they are going to fully tank and reload. I don't know. We're going to figure that out. Of course, Carson Wentz out of Philadelphia. That kind of was the center of the project. But the O-line is still there. The O-line is still pretty good, but it is getting older. So with that being said, we'll continue to break that down in the future, but some big news coming up after this. The 76ers clinching the 1 seed last week in their win against the Orlando Magic. We now have the entire playoffs lined up, including the Los Angeles Lakers slipping to the 7th seed, playing Gavin's Golden State Warriors in the play-in tournament. We'll talk about that and more after this.
We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
Look, going into this season, the Sixers were the 6th seed. They got swept by the Boston Celtics. They went out and they traded Al Horford for Danny Green. They made some other moves, acquired Steph Curry, got rid of Josh Richardson, found a way to get Dwight Howard from the Los Angeles Lakers after tweeting I'm back. Daryl Morey deserves a lot of credit for this season. Doc Rivers deserves a lot of credit for this season. Joel Embiid himself deserves a lot of credit for this season. I think a lot of players, Ben Simmons too. You saw what happened when he was off the court, how that team kind of fell apart offensively, even though he doesn't really put it on the stat sheet every night. With that being said, a longtime special guest that we've had on the show, Dom Amoroso, joins us. You were here for last year's playoffs. It's great to be back for another year of covering the playoffs. Dom, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
Here. He's here, ladies and gentlemen. He is here. And real quick, Dom, before you answer, I just want to bring up something. And Zach, and he called me crazy when I put this. In our group chat, in our old group chats, Dom, remember when you put your list and standings about who's going to be where did I have the Sixers? I had them at 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make
you
sure.
Did. Yeah, you did. You did.
Make sure we got that.
They're good. I don't think they're a true 1 seed though, but that's a different conversation.
Argue that for another day. Go ahead.
No, I'm well, guys. It's great to be back. Congratulations to both of you guys as you're nearing the end of your high school careers. So it's just good to be back and good to see you guys.
Thank you for coming back, Dom. And go ahead, Zach. I didn't know you froze.
I want to say thank you, man. We've had you on a couple times. We've had some good conversations on here. I'm looking forward to continuing. But Gavin, anything else you wanted to say before we get started?
No, let's get into it because we're about to argue. Because I told Dom, I said,
we're going to start with the less controversial stuff. I promise before we do get to the top of the Eastern Conference. But let's start with the play-in tournament. Something I was not too fond of. I do want to ask you very briefly, Dom. Gavin, my argument was that most years in the Eastern Conference specifically, you never get all 8 teams to be at or above 500. This year, the circumstances are pretty similar. The 8 seed, 9 seed, and 10 seed are below 500. The 7 seed Celtics are at 500. In the West, only the Spurs are below 500. So in that conference, it seems to hold out pretty true. But Dom, do you like the idea of the play-in in just a COVID year, or do you like it altogether? What are your thoughts on it as a whole?
I see both sides of the coin with it. I'm not a fan of it just because, you're giving, 2 teams that really aren't, necessarily playoff caliber teams, in 9 and 10, a shot at the playoffs when they didn't perform in the regular season, necessarily. What I like about it is, it's just more competition. I think it's creative. I think it's something that is, good because, while, some of these teams didn't perform in the regular season, hey, it gives you a second chance. Whether they deserve it or not is a different story. But, I see both sides of the coin with it. I want to see how it plays out, Tuesday night, starting with the Eastern Conference. So, we'll see. I think it's just one of these things, if the league keeps it long-term, we'll just get used to it over time, whether we agree or disagree with it.
The one thing I like about it, Dom, is, and go back to last year when you had the team like the Suns and the Suns, I'm going to say it was the Suns, Pelicans, Trailblazers, and Spurs that were all within a half game or a game of that 8th spot. And I said, well, wait a minute. Don't they deserve a chance, especially after a year where the league stopped? You think they would deserve a chance, at least a shot at the playoffs? And Damian Lillard said it best. I'm not going to go if I don't get a fair chance. Now, in a non-COVID 82-game season where everybody played to their body's ability, I could see not having a play-in tournament. I could see that. But here's the deal. Maybe not the 9 and 10. And depending on how far 9 and 10 is, I would do a play-in. Like, all right, let's take a look at it from this instance. In the Eastern Conference this year, the Washington Wizards are 34 and 38. And the Pacers are 34 and 38. That's a tie. I would have a play-in tournament for that because that's a tie, and you want to see who's the better team for that. Now, if you go to the West, I wouldn't really put San Antonio in it. I mean, they're 6 games below 500. But a team like Memphis, who's right behind the Golden State Warriors, I would do it. It's little things like that will make sense. Do I see the 10 seed, depending on how far the 10 is behind? Like, going back to last year, Zach, when we talked about how close everybody was in the West, I understand it for that. And I get where you're coming from with the whole below 500 not deserving it, but it's depending on how close it is. If the Pacers are tied with the same record, well, damn, I mean, they're always a playoff team. Don't you think they deserve a game just to see they can get in? If they win, they get in. If they lose, they go home. That's why I like the play-in tournament. But Zach, let me be honest, the reason I don't like it is because your best friend's in it at 7. That's why. Just call it how it is.
It's not why. I think that the NBA is a very forgiving league. You can be a 500 team and make the playoffs, I want to say 80% of the time, depending on what conference you fall in. In baseball, 81 and 81 is not going to cut it. In football, 8 and 8 in the regular 16-game is not going to cut it. The NBA is a very forgiving sport. It gives every team, in my opinion, unless you're purposely trying to lose or just a flat-out inept organization, a chance to make the playoffs. I find it unnecessary, even in a 72-game season, to throw 2 more teams into that when it's unnecessary, especially when you're already pressed for time. The Lakers and the Heat this year got the shortest offseason in probably close in sports history, not including golf and things like that goes year-round. However, with that being said, we see the consequences of that. The last thing we need to do is bleed this into late July, early August this year and not be able to give these guys a full offseason to really rest and reset. I think that this was an opportunity for the NBA to really go out there and say, we're going to shorten the season by 10 games, make it as normal as we can, scrap the plans because that just kills a whole another week of potential playing for the first round.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick, Zach. Go to the Pacers. Like I just said, they're 34-38, and so is Washington. You're telling me that the 9-8 shouldn't play? Let's forget about the Boston Celtics. All right, let's forget about my guy Jerome Allen and Dom. Let's forget about them for just a second. You're telling me Washington and Indiana shouldn't have a play-in tournament just them two alone because they're the same record?
Well, they've played each other twice in the last month, and the results were this: the Wizards won 133-132, and the Wizards won 154-141. The Pacers had their 2 chances. It's over. It's done with. Why get a third? That's a third chance at that point, maybe a 4th chance. The reason that the Sixers' magic number was 1 is because they beat Brooklyn during the regular season, and they had the tiebreaker. It's the same case here. So no, I don't think they deserve that chance.
Okay, I'll leave it like that.
The bottom line is that we do have the play-in tournament. It is going to be fun to watch. I do like it from the fan perspective, but at the same time, these teams
it makes the end of the year.
That it does. Look, I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but let's get to the games. Let's get to some of the predictions of how we think it's going to fan out. We'll start with the Eastern Conference between the Celtics and the Wizards. I'm going to take the Celtics here. I know they're a little banged up without Jaylen Brown, but I think the Celtics will win this game and will clinch the 7th seed to play the Brooklyn Nets in the first round.
Good.
I would concur with that. Jaylen Brown is a big loss, but this Washington team for me is too isolation heavy. And I think I think when you're too ISO heavy and you don't really have a great third option, it's easy to be picked apart. So I'm going to go with Boston in that one.
Jerome Allen, if you're watching this, don't take this personal. I got to go with Russell Westbrook, and here's what: Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. The season that Bradley Beal had, only missing the scoring title by 0.3 points off of Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry had 31.8, and Bradley Beal was 31.4, so he missed it by a little bit. Bradley Beal almost killed the Sixers with a 60-point game. Bradley Beal was on a tear. Cooled off, got a little bit hurt. Russell Westbrook found his way, and Zach, we saw the end of the season with the 182 or 3 now with the triple doubles. Zach, when the Brody is playing one of the most athletic point guards, and he can get everybody involved, especially the way how Bradley Beal's been playing this year. And no disrespect to Jerome Allen and Brad Stevens and the crew. But look, that's not happening. You don't have Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum's too freaky, and I love Kemba Walker, but guess what? Kemba Walker is just not playing great basketball this year. He's been banged in and out, and you don't have a true center. Tristan Thompson is caught up in some drama with the Kardashians, I think, still, and Taco Falls can't even make it up the court without getting an ASA or without timeout. Zach, just give me Washington.
All right, and that brings us to the 9-10 game, Pacers and Hornets. This is a tough one for me. The Pacers shocked me when they were good. Like, what is it about them that's good? But they also shocked me that they're not good, if that makes sense. Karis LeVert has been trying to find his footing since coming back into his recovery. Demarcus Cousins has had a pretty quiet year, but he has been playing well. He's been doing his job. I like Charlotte in some areas. They've had a nice year. LaMelo is up there in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. If not him, it's Anthony Edwards. But I just deal with Indiana here. I think their experience will give them a little more of an edge, and then that means that they would face from what I see, Washington. I would give Washington the win to beat the 8th seed. How about you, Dom, and then Gavin?
I'm actually going to go against you here, Zach. I like the Pacers. I'm a big Sabonis fan. I like Nate Bjorkgren, but I don't think he was ready to be a head coach. And reading some of the stuff that's came out in the last few weeks about the turmoil and the butting of heads that's gone down there in Indianapolis, I'm going to go with Charlotte. I think this Pacers team has a little bit of quit in them, that they're kind of ready to get this thing over with and maybe move on to having a new coach. And Charlotte, and knock on wood, if not for LaMelo Ball's injury, may be a little higher than, may be in a different position this year. And I think this Hornets team is budding, and I think a win in the play-in tournament is really going to show that.
I'd agree with Dom here, and here's why. When LaMelo Ball went out, the Hornets were a 5th or 4th seed. They started to go on the skid. We've seen Miles Bridges obliterate Clint Capella and a few others. The Hornets announcer needs something for his throat after all the screaming he's done. But look, they remind me of the young Brooklyn team that went to the playoffs and lost the Sixers in 5 to a certain point. They're a group of players that ended up working well together. They got a nice veteran presence in Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier, and they allow LaMelo Ball to do what he does best, which is score and facilitate. Scary Terry can give you 40, and Miles Bridges is becoming his own. I like this team. Like I said, they remind me to a certain point of that Brooklyn team. They're not a team that's going to wow you in the playoffs and go far. They're going to get a game or two, but let's be real. I think they're going to win this game, and they're going to move on to go to the playoffs and face whoever they play. But they remind me of the young Brooklyn team to a certain point where they just play well together. They're not ready yet, but they play well together.
Yeah, it would look like it'd be Charlotte and Philly. In my case, I would be Washington and Philly. Yeah. And then it would be Brooklyn and Boston or Brooklyn and Washington, according to Gaven. So two definitely games that can go very different ways. We'll focus on some more of the beef of the Eastern Conference in a minute, but let's also talk about the Western Conference play-ins. Lakers finished the season on a 5-game winning streak. Warriors on a 6-game winning streak. Trailblazers going 8-2 in their last 10, holding on to the 6th seed. Let's start with the Lakers-Warriors. One game. Who do you not want to play in one game? A guy who can be extremely hot from three. This is a tough one for me as someone who has been a LeBron defender, not a Lakers fan, despite Gavin's beliefs. It is tough for me to bet on the Lakers here, but again, they've been playing really well lately with LeBron back. He's looking much more healthy, much more bouncy. It's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I am going to go Los Angeles to secure the 7th seed.
Yeah, LeBron's not gonna listen. I hats off to Steph Curry. I mean, he certainly had an MVP season. And this Golden State team just can't get a break from the injury bug these past 2 years. So I just can't see LeBron and AD and them guys losing. The defending champs going out in the play-in tournament. I'm sorry, I can't see them going out in the play-in tournament. I still have my questions as to how healthy they really are. I think some of the reports contradict what we may see. And this Lakers team is just a deeper team than Golden State right now. But I don't think Golden State's going to go down without a fight. I think we're going to see a really good exit from Steph Curry this year.
The blasphemous that just came from both of y'all's mouth. I can't believe it. Listen, Steph Curry is the hottest basketball player in the game right now. All right, Zach, you see what he did to our beloved – okay, Don, we can argue that in just a minute. But, Zach, did you see what he just did to our beloved Sixers a couple weeks ago? I mean, damn. I mean, from three, it was at the point where Doc Rivers threw his hands up and said, I don't know, Coach. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to –
Doc Rivers doesn't know how to defend Steph Curry. I'm sorry. That's not on the Sixers. That's on Doc Rivers.
And in the last 10 games, all right, last night, versus Memphis, he went for 46, 7-9. Didn't play against New Orleans. There's no point. There's no sign. They're not worried. You go against the Phoenix Suns. You drop 21. You go against Utah, who they beat, 36 points versus OKC, a 49-piece, almost a 50-burger. Zach, a 34 versus OKC, 37 versus New Orleans, and then another game versus New Orleans, 41. Houston, 30, 37 versus Minnesota. Now, I know that the couple teams weren't as tough, but Zach, what I'm trying to say is this. When this brother's on, he's on. I mean, Zach, we've seen it. I've seen it in person. I've seen it all year long. Yes, they don't have the pieces to go far, but damn, if he's hitting shots from behind the three, I don't care if there's LeBron James or Anthony Davis or the man himself or anybody. It's going to be the Warriors, Zach. And you can shake your head and nod your head and down. We can argue about it. But when you're hitting threes from beyond the arc from 50 feet, from 30 feet, and then you got Draymond Green as your point forward facilitating, it's annoying to play against Steph Curry. It's annoying because you can't do nothing about it. If you guard up on, he'll go right by you. If you stand back too far, he's pulling. As soon as you get from half court, every shot's a good shot to him. And analytically, and Dom, I know this is where you come in. Analytically, any shot past half court is a high percentage shot for Steph Curry. And the reason why I'm gonna make an MVP case for him, regardless of his record, is just look what he's working with. Wiseman goes down with an injury. Andrew Wiggins plays when he wants to, but half the time he's there spiritually. You got Kelly Oubre, who's there for the looks and occasionally helps out. Draymond Green's a point forward, underrated player this year by far. And Zach and damn, Steve Kerr done an excellent job coaching this team. And so, I mean, if you're talking about a one game winning in situation, or one game win just to make sure you get the 7th seed, that's the guy you don't want to go against, especially the Terry's been on.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think that he's going to be a scary threat in one game,
Yeah.
but you're talking about a healthy LeBron James. You're talking about Anthony Davis.
Healthy.
As healthy as he'll be, he looked pretty good last night. I think that they'll be fine. I think
ankle didn't come back.
However, assuming, let's say the Lakers do win that game, you push the Warriors down to the winner of the Grizzlies and Spurs game. First of all, I do want to say I will take the Memphis Grizzlies in that game. Do either of you take the Spurs in that one, or will I take Memphis?
I like the Spurs, but no, I'm taking Memphis. I do also want to redact part of my last statement. I do have Golden State getting the 8th seed, so when I said an egg from Curry, I lost my wording there. So I think this Memphis team is really on the cusp of being pretty good these next few years. Similar to Charlotte, with a little more experience, with a couple more veteran faces than Charlotte has. But I think this is a deja vu situation for the Grizzlies. Like they were in last year where they lost to Portland on the last day. I think they'll beat San Antonio, and then I think they'll lose to Golden State. But let's also give some hats off to John Morant. I think he's definitely basically an all-star come next year. This Memphis team
should have been this year.
Yeah, should have been this year too. I would agree with that. This Memphis team is on the cusp. But I can't see them getting in that 8th seed over Golden State.
Well, hold on. Well, because this is where I have to ask you a question. Let's go back to before Jaren Jackson was when he was injured. They weren't playing the best of basketball. They were kind of just hot and cold. Jaren Jackson comes back, they find her, and then they go on a little bit of a run, not too much to really, but it was enough to get them in the play-in. The game I highlight the most was when I want to say the Grizzlies were blowing out the Lakers. I can't remember if the Lakers came back to win or they just lost respectfully. But I think the Lakers came back to win. But if the Lakers were to go against the Grizzlies, I could see the Grizzlies winning that. And I'm not saying that to be, the troll Zach and make Zach upset for the rest of the day, or to piss off any LeBron fans or Lakers fans. I mean, when John Morant came back, when Jaren Jackson came back, it felt like a huge weight lift was off John Morant's shoulders, because it was really John Morant versus everybody. Now it's the dynamic duo versus everybody else. I'm not going to give them the upper hand if it is the Lakers versus the Grizzlies, because you have to respect the other side of the ball with Drummond and the crew. But if John Morant, I've seen John Morant do some heroic things before, and it was a shame that he lost to Damian Lillard in that final game, which it came down to, I want to say, the final shot almost.
Yeah.
It could get, this playing tournament could get ugly.
I will say this though, I don't think either Golden State or the Lakers will lose 2 games in a row when it matters the most. They will both be in the 7 and the 8, whichever one they're in for either one. I do think they'll both be the two teams that end up in the playoffs.
I think the Lakers will be in the 8, and Zach and Dom, the Jazz are playing phenomenal basketball. Dom, I think we talked about Quinn Snyder and how he has his team playing, especially Jordan Clarkson. That's my 6th man of the year right there.
Absolutely. Utah's, look, the one thing I'll say in both conferences this year is I don't think there's a true 1 seed in the fact that there was no team that was, I think the clear – there was no team that you could sit there consistently and say these guys are going to end up as the 1 seed at any point, once the season really got rolling. The West is going to be a dogfight, 1 through 8. Utah's been playing great. Phoenix is firing on all cylinders.
It's the MVP too.
He definitely needs some consideration. No disrespect to Monty Williams, who's a really good coach, but I think Chris Paul's the difference maker down there. Because the one thing, and I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, was the Suns had talent, and when we saw that at the end of the bubble last year when they went on that that little run, 8-0 run, that 8-0 run, that you saw that they were there, but they needed somebody to teach them how to win. They need somebody that could show them how to win. And Chris Paul brings that everywhere he goes. He is a consummate culture builder. He's still extremely productive. Millennials won't see that because they only see points. They don't see all the other numbers. But he is the X factor down there. He has been the difference maker for why this team has jumped to where they are, and why the young guys down there, not just Booker and Ayton, but Mikal Bridges, guys like that, have developed. So Chris Paul, to that quick tidbit, Gavin, certainly would deserve some conversation for the MVP. But yeah, the 1-7, the 1-8, excuse me, and 2-7 matchups in the West are going to be interesting to watch.
Let me ask you a quick question, and just I know we have to go to the other conference, but if the Lakers do happen to play them, and that would be the 7th seed, and Dom, once again, this is not me being biased, this is me being truly honest. I think the Suns could win in 7.
Oh no, I agree with that. I think it'll be a 7-game series. Who I would have winning, I'm not sure yet. I got to see how the Lakers get through the play-in. I think Phoenix has a realistic shot at the finals, though.
It's because of the health of Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Health. Yeah, with the Lakers, for me, it's not the talent. It's health and their lack of their lackluster 3-point shooting at times.
And Dennis Schroeder too. Dennis Schroeder can't. I think as he's returning, it would be either game 1 or 2 if they make it.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
But I would say that that series is going to go to 7 games. And like I said, hey, maybe health improves for the Lakers throughout that series. Phoenix isn't really that physical of a team. So you may not you're not really going to get banged up from playing those guys, but just the wear and tear, and the injury bug that's hovering in that Lakers locker room certainly is the biggest concern for everybody with them. But Phoenix, I think if you ask me, out of the top 2 in the West, I think Phoenix has a better chance at getting to the finals than Utah.
I'd agree with that. I definitely think Utah is a good team, but they're just not. There's no one on that team that's really going to take over and be able to drop 50 plus a night. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's done it. He's still recovering from his injury. He's slowly getting back in that lineup. But I don't know, something about them just doesn't feel like they can go. I mean, look, it's going to be 1 through 8. Just looking through the standings, I mean, there's no team that I can't say I wouldn't be shocked if they were in the NBA Finals. Every team there you could see making it to at least the conference final. The Jazz, Suns, Nuggets, Clippers, Mavericks, Trailblazers, Lakers, and even the Warriors, just based off their experience. It's going to be a really fun playoff in the Western Conference. So we'll stick here with this.
Real quick.
Prediction for who comes out. Gavin, you go first, and then we'll get to predictions on who comes out of the West.
I have an upset that could happen, and we've seen it before a couple years ago. I think Portland could upset the Denver Nuggets in the first round.
That's an interesting one.
It's a long shot, but it could happen.
Without Jamal Murray, maybe. I mean, that's possible. But I don't know if Portland really had the best track record the last year or so in the playoffs.
That's an interesting theory. I think it's realistic. Portland is certainly a team I don't want to see in the first round. But I will say this with Denver, and this was a big part of my Nikola Jokic for MVP campaign, is that when Jamal Murray went down, and I love Jamal Murray. I'm not just saying they're better without him. But this is really just a testament to the play of Nikola Jokic. They actually went up in the standings. They actually rose to get that 3 seed. But I do think we're going to see some games this postseason for Denver where this is a Jamal Murray game. I think Portland will be well prepared to defend Jokic with his former front court mate Jusuf Nurkic. I think that'll be a really interesting series. I think you could maybe see it go to 5 or 6. And these past few years, hey, Denver hasn't made the first round easy for themselves. And without Jamal Murray, it's going to be tougher.
I mean, 50-point games traded back in the bubble.
I mean, remember, 2019, the Spurs took them to 7 games. They came back from
Portland in 7, right?
In the conference semifinals, but the Spurs took them to 7 that first round in 2019. Then you go to the bubble. They started down 3-1 in both series.
Yeah, at some point you run out of energy. You just can't keep producing, especially in a different environment than it is the bubble. But let's get to it then. Who do we see in the conference final number 1 for the West, and then who do we see coming out of the West? I'll start first. I do think I believe it does make sense. Clippers, Lakers. I did read that they would not meet until the conference final. That's my pick, honestly. And 2 years ago, anyone who had seen the free agency would have told you that for last season. But I see it this year. The Clippers have become very underrated because of how they played last year. They got a bad rap. the Lakers, I can't not see LeBron at least making it to the conference final. When has he ever fell short of that in his career? Could age catch up to him? It could. But even when the Cavs were starting to go down, he still was able to carry that team to the finals. There's just no way I can't not see them making it to the very least Western Conference final. In which case, I would have to go with the Clippers here, and I would take the Clippers coming out of the West and going to play in the NBA Finals against the ultimate winner in the Eastern Conference.
I'm going to go with the Clippers and the Suns in my conference finals. I think the Clippers, this has been a bounce back year for them. I know they've had their ups and downs, but I think we'll see them click, for the first two rounds. I think Phoenix is playing at a really high level. And like I said, the Chris Paul factor for me, combined with Devin Booker and an ever-developing DeAndre Ayton and the role players they have and Mikal Bridges and those guys, I think they're a really dangerous team. I think they're, they hit their stride at the right time. And I see them getting to the finals.
Dama, I think me and you have the same sheet that we're reading off. Listen, I got the same thing. I got Clippers and Suns in the Western Conference Finals because of this. The Suns have this system that Chris Paul came in and brought this culture that to believe in yourself and work harder, and they all bought into that, and that's why they are where they are today. And arguably they could have got the 1 seed yesterday of a Utah loss, but it didn't happen. They may not look as a tough team on paper, but I've seen them, beat teams that they shouldn't have beat. I've seen them go ahead and beat the Clippers. I've seen them go ahead and beat the Sixers. All that. And when it comes to the Clippers, damn it, Paul, I'm just going to say it. Damn it, Paul George, you owe me. All right, I looked like an idiot in front of you last year, especially when you hit the backboard when I needed you the most. You hit backboard. Zach, come on. All the times you see me play basketball, I've never hit the backboard, not once in my entire life. And it's a shame. I don't get paid $40 to $50 million, and I don't hit backboard. So you're right, Dom. This is a year of proving. You have to prove yourself. Paul George has a lot to prove. Kawhi Leonard, especially that choke job he did in Game 7. Let's be real. This is the realistic Western Conference Finals is Phoenix versus the Clippers, and I want to say the Clippers could edge them out. I want to say Phoenix could edge them out. I had to get there and see it and how they got there.
Yeah.
For sure. It's going to be interesting. Now let's get to the Eastern Conference. We held it off as long as we could, but hey, trying to keep our biases out of it. The 76ers are the 1 seed. Nets, Bucks, Knicks, Hawks, Heat, Celtics, Wizards. And then, of course, Pacers and Hornets will be fighting for those last 2 spots. This is going to be an interesting one for me. The 76ers have a significantly easier path to the Eastern Conference Final than the other 2 top 3 teams, in my opinion, because the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round play the Miami Heat, and the Brooklyn Nets could potentially end up playing the Milwaukee Bucks, assuming that they are able to beat the Miami Heat. So 76ers, if all the higher seeds win, according to my own prediction, which would be the Wizards at 8, the Sixers would have to beat the Wizards and then the New York Knicks to get to the conference final. There is no way the Sixers don't make the conference final at the very least. There is no excuse for them this year. They've been together long enough. The team itself has been constructed well. There is no reason they don't make the Eastern Conference final. And, of course, I'm going to go with Brooklyn as well. I do think that the Bucks beat the Heat this year, and the Heat are just too fatigued and just not talented enough. The Bucks have been very underrated as well this year. 46-26, 20 games above 500 for Milwaukee. And then the Nets and the Bucks, I think the Nets win it in 6. I think they take care of business. I think that Steve Nash and that crew, he has a lot of talented people on that coaching staff. They can figure out a way to slow down Giannis. And you got all 3 guys healthy, assuming they all stick together, assuming they don't cause any drama. Gaven, that's been my big thing all year. And then I do have the Brooklyn Nets beating the Sixers in 7 games. It is tough to say that. It is tough to say Brooklyn can come into the Wells Fargo Center in Game 7 with a full crowd and beat them. But super teams in the past have always made the finals. They've never come up short, at least until the finals. We've seen that with the big 3 in Miami. We've seen that with Golden State. It's just inevitable. It's unfortunate to say. But Eastern Conference final is Brooklyn Nets, 76ers, and I have the Nets coming out of the East.
So my Eastern Conference is very much the same. I will say this: I wouldn't want to see the Knicks in any series. I get it. They are the one concern with them is inexperience when it comes to the playoffs. But they are a very physical team. They will scratch and claw at you as much as they can. And I think they've given everybody in the East in the regular season their best shot. I think the Knicks will get out of the first round against Atlanta. In that second round series in Philly, the Knicks have given the Sixers some headaches this year. I think the Sixers win that series in 5 games or 6 games, but I think they'll be a little exhausted from that New York series. I think the Knicks are going to wear the Sixers down pretty good. Brooklyn and Milwaukee is going to be a good second round series. I think that could go either way. And I will say this: if I'm the Bucks, I'm not going to get rid of Mike Budenholzer if they don't get back to the conference finals. I think this group that he has, similar to Philly, is well constructed. I think he deserves another year with that group, as much as many people that would disagree with me on that. But Bud is a solid coach. But I think we'll see Brooklyn and Philly in the conference finals. I think Nets take that one in six. I think, even though Harden, Kyrie, and KD have only played 7 or 8 games altogether. Correct me if I'm wrong there. If we can get a fact check on that.
8 games.
8 games. Okay, just making sure. I just wanted to be factual there. I think the first round they'll have plenty of time to get it to just to keep building on their chemistry. Second round, is going to be a test. If there's any downfall of Brooklyn, I think it's going to be Kyrie. I think he really is the odd man out there with Harden and KD having played together before for a couple years in OKC. Although Harden wasn't what he was then. He was a great 6th man in OKC. But I'm going to take Brooklyn over the Sixers in 6 in the East.
I can't even about to say this, Zach. I got the New York Knicks winning in 4 versus the Atlanta Hawks.
I do too.
But here's why. Julius Randle is most improved player of the year. Damn it, give him an award. We can talk about coach of the year any other time. I don't know. I mean, Tibbs came in.
Absolutely.
But Julius Randle, on the summer they gave up. They gave up on KD and Kyrie in the same summer. You lose on Zion Williamson, and you don't even restrict Anthony Davis. And you get Julius Randle. And Zach, I think I texted you and I clowned him. I said, Julius Randle. I mean, $21 million to Julius Randle. Well, guess what? I guess I did. Today is my official apology. Zach, you might want to make
Here it is. Well anticipated over a year later.
Over a year and a half later. New York Knicks, I'm sorry. And I have you guys going in 4 to Atlanta and then coming to Philadelphia. And Dom, you say 6, I say 5. And here's why.
Okay.
5 games because you had to get Julius Randle to beat you, right? I'm not saying that Julius Randle is a scrub because
Six haven't lost to the Knicks in 4 years.
But let's not use that statistic because I don't like that.
Hold on. I got a fact check on that. Because didn't the Knicks beat? Didn't the Knicks beat the Sixers? It was either shortly after or shortly before the New Year.
It was the Ben Simmons. It's the Ben Simmons stat that he's never lost to the Knicks.
Oh, Ben Simmons. I'm sorry, I misheard that. Came through my earphones. My AirPods the wrong way.
I don't like that stat, and here's why. That stat doesn't mean a damn because it's a team sport at the end of the day. All right, Ben Simmons has single-handedly handled the New York Knicks every night. All right, it was a team effort.
It's been every game's been real close this year between the two of them. But once you start in a few games, the more that's why I love basketball. Not college ball. It's one and done. That's why you see upsets. In the NBA, it's a true testament, and the MLB is the same way. It's a series. You get everything out of a team. The team that has the more energy at the end of the day, the more strategic team, the team who wants it more and has the talent to do it will win. So Sixers Knicks, I'm not worried about it. It's how many games will they eventually fall to the Knicks with Ben Simmons? It's irrelevant because you win in 5 or 6 or even 7. Who cares? You win.
But it's this for me. It's not Julius Randle that I'm worried about in this series because Julius Randle's gonna get hits. It's with R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley and Derrick Rose and all those other guys. Those are the guys that I'm worried about. Derrick Rose has been a sleepy pickup for them, and I love me some D Rose. I really do. I'm mad that he got injured, and I'm mad that Carmelo didn't go to the Bulls when he was supposed to because that would have been something amazing to watch. Derrick Rose is playing his best basketball we've seen in a long time. It's not MVP numbers, but damn it, it's numbers that we need to talk about. And I want to say this too. If the Sixers beat the Knicks, Dom, you say 6, I say 5, but it's going to be a rough 5 games. When the Sixers go against the Brooklyn Nets, I'm terrified. Not because of the fact that it's the best offensive players in the game, one of the top 5, top 10 best offensive players in the game. Kevin Durant maybe be the best scorer of all time we ever seen. It's just the fact that how fatigued that the Sixers may be coming out of that series, how banged up they might be, because the New York Knicks, they're going to get out the mud. I mean,
And the Sixers do, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but they do 15 straight wins against the New York Knicks. That's what the numbers are. Go ahead.
No, the one thing I will say to your point, Gavin, and I was actually surprised to hear that from you. The Sixers are a great defensive team, but my one concern with them in the postseason is going to be how well can they score the ball? Because to beat Brooklyn, you have to see them at the rim, you have to outscore them. So I don't think the Sixers would go down without a fight that series. Aside from like I said with.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying 4. I'm not saying 4.
No, I don't think it'll be easy. But aside from them maybe being a little fatigued from and worn down from playing the Knicks, I do have some concerns about how well can they score the ball against a team where their identity is we are going to outscore you every night.
But it goes like this too. It's like, remember we talked about on the show, and Don, we talked about it a lot, in text. Yeah, the New York Knicks are the Brooklyn Nets are historically the worst defense. The New York Knicks are also historically bad at some point too, but the Brooklyn Nets defense is historically terrible when all of them are together, right?
Yeah, it gets tiring to outscore your opponent every night. They need to win 12 games to make the NBA Finals, right?
If you go against a team like the Philadelphia 76ers who aren't accustomed to dropping 130 points a night or 100 and this a night, where after a while that gets tired because it's going to be Joel Embiid doing everything unless Ben Simmons is the key to this.
Slow down the pace of the game. Do not try to play at their pace. The Knicks are going to get the Sixers, and it's going to tick them off. I guarantee you that the average score of the Sixers-Knicks series is 103, 104, nothing more than that. The Knicks slow you down to their pace. I watched the Celtics game yesterday. It was like 96-90. It is old-style basketball. It is brutal. It is slow. The players, Embiid will take a number in that series. It will in that series. You want to speed it up. You want to speed it up because they're not used to playing at that pace. You play the other team down. I don't know, the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever you want to call it. You play that team. You need to do the opposite.
Atlantic Avenue, sir.
Atlantic Avenue. The Sixers need to slow them down. They're going to be two very different strategic kinds of series. The first series, you just assume your talent can beat them. Next two series, it's going to be strategic. So it's going to be up to Doc Rivers. And as important, Ben and Joel need to show up in the playoffs.
Real quick, before I let you answer, Don. This is Ben Simmons' play. That series, that New York Knicks series, because you talk about how slow they play. Ben Simmons is the fastest player on this Sixers roster. He gets the fast break. Every time it's a fast break, Ben Simmons' hands is all over it at some point. Whether he started it, whether he's running it, or whether he's finishing it. That's where he needs to shine. And he needs to shoot the damn ball too. I mean, damn, let's be honest. You can't run, drive, and kick, and Joel Embiid can't just sit there and take the punch. If I want Joel Embiid to take the punishment, it has to be Brooklyn because Blake Griffin's 90 years old with I guess somewhat knees that work. It's like his knees are as great as mine. Some days I can run, some days I can't even walk. I mean, but if there's a time for the Sixers to win or to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's now. You have a new coach. You have a general manager that puts you in success to win. Seth Curry is going to come off the bench, whether you like it or not, especially in that Brooklyn series, because you need defense. You're going to need defense. I like Matisse Thybulle as of late. Tyrese Maxey had 30 points. He looks promising. Just, damn it, Doc, give him his minutes. Mix it up Milton, as I like to call him. The reason I call him shaking up Milton because of this. Some days he mixes the game up where he's hot, and some days he's not. It depends on what you're getting from the bench. There's 2 keys to the Sixers this year, or 3 keys, excuse me. Embiid's health through the playoffs, that's 1. Ben Simmons, that's 2. And that defense, not that defense, and that bench is 3. And if you want to say, well, what about Tobias Harris? That could be 4.
Harris will need to show up big in the playoffs. He did not last year.
Absolutely.
But and then the big thing too. So let's assume that our predictions. I think we're all pretty much on par that it would be Clippers and Brooklyn in the NBA Finals. Who wins that series?
Brooklyn in 5 or 6. Excuse me.
I got the Nets in 6.
I'll agree Nets in 6. I think that the Clippers are a great team, but if the Nets make it that far, clearly my assumption that a big three doesn't fail, clearly they will have worked together and have done a good job. I can't see Kawhi and Paul George being able to beat that. It's just so much talent. It's unfair to an extent. They're old. It's kind of one last dance, especially for a guy like James Harden who's trying to get his ring. Speaking of that, today's 1 year since the Last Dance had aired their last 2 episodes. I saw it on ESPN this morning. But yeah, it's gonna be fun playoffs. All bets are off, despite the fact that the Nets are as talented on paper as they are. But Gavin, I say it all the time. Time will tell, and we will truly see the testament of that here in what's going to be as regular and normal of a feel of NBA playoffs that we've had in 2 years.
I have a hot take, and I want to get your opinions on it. At the end of this year, whether Brooklyn wins the title or not, I think that there's going to be a trade where Kyrie Irving, and you guys call him the odd man out, that OKC big three that we saw a long time ago, I think they form up for one last ride, and Kyrie Irving's going to be the moving piece, and they're going to trade for Russell Westbrook. That's just me. I mean, think about it. It would make sense. You do it again, right? You get your ring, you do it again. We talk about Kyrie Irving, and let's stop the disrespect to Kyrie Irving, because the stuff that he's talking about in the media and when he says that's real. Zach, I said that to you the other day. That's real. All right, that's real emotion that Kyrie Irving is feeling, and he has the right to feel that way. But I think when it comes to basketball, when it comes to actually getting the game, playing, I think that he can be their biggest downfall at some point.
Look, I think it's going to be a tough testament, but if they do trade Kyrie Irving is a better. In my opinion, at least he's younger. He's more talented now than Russell Westbrook. They bring different things to the table. One's going to be able to dish it out, get the assists. Some call it stat padding. It's whatever. He's recording 20 assists every few games. Not every few games, but a couple times a season. It's very underappreciated. I do think that if they trade Kyrie Irving, I don't think it's for Russell Westbrook. I think it's to get some more depth, possibly a more reliable big. Let Harden run the one. They can go Harden, Joe Harris at the 2, Durant at the 3, and then just find some guys down low. They're going to be rebuilding after this season too, because even if they win the title, it's not going to be. This strategy is not sustainable. They know that, but it's going to be interesting to watch and see how they move forward. With that being said, Dom will bring you back on throughout the playoffs. We'll continue to keep everybody updated. It's been awesome on today. Gavin, anything else you wanted to say, and then Dom will get to you for last.
Go ahead, Dom. You can go first.
Gavin, to your hot take. I don't know if KD and Russ want to play together again. That's my only thing.
Okay.
I don't know if those guys want to play together again. It'd be interesting to see all three of them playing together now. With their talent maximized. But I don't know if if 2 of those 3 want to play together again. And I would mostly agree with Zach that if they do trade Kyrie, it may be to get some more depth, or it may be to get another big piece from somewhere that's not named Russell Westbrook.
My final thing is this, Don. We can go back and forth about that later off the show. And another thing that makes the Clippers dangerous, which I don't think that gets a lot of talks or attention, the fact that they got Demarcus Cousins too. And Demarcus Cousins is on a proven. He's been cut multiple times. Still trying to find his way back from injury. Demarcus Cousins was considered an MVP candidate a couple years ago. Not saying that Demarcus Cousins is going to come out and, do MVP numbers, but he can shoot the 3 ball. He can rebound at some points. He's not the best defender, but when Serge Ibaka goes out of the game and they sub in Demarcus Cousins, that could be a problem too. The Clippers are ready to go. The West, I'm excited, Zach. In hockey playoffs, I know we're going to cover that, but real quick, the Lightning almost lost us now. I was watching that for a minute. I don't know why, but I was watching it.
Yeah, I had a chance to tune into it. We'll continue to cover that and more. Of course, the Philadelphia Phillies, they kick off their series.
Disappointments.
In Miami, I believe tonight. I don't even know who's pitching. I guess it'd be Wheeler, right?
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler pitching tonight for the Philadelphia Phillies against a Marlins team that is about average this year. I'm sorry. They do have the off day to travel. They will be playing tomorrow in a 3-game series. And then they come home to play against the Red Sox, and then we will be able to continue to see how they do. It's going to be an interesting ride. A lot going on in the sports world right now, all things considered. After last year, there was nothing going on this time. PGA Championship coming up this week. Yesterday, the tournament ended up in forget where it was. I think it was in Florida or North Carolina where they played. Or no, actually in Texas. It was in just outside of Dallas. They'll be in South Carolina this next week for the PGA Championship. We'll continue to cover all of that. With that being said, Dom, again, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it, and we will see you all soon.
Have a good one,
Thanks for
everybody.
having
Thank
me,
you so much.
fellas.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we